Are you a football fan? Have you ever found yourself wondering, what in the world was that ref thinking? Well, Mike D, the referee, is here to help you. Join me on Whistle Talk as I talk to professionals on the field and in the booth to help you understand what is going on inside the mind of a football official. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Whistle Talk. Mike D, the referee, coming at you again from still a very cold and snowy New Jersey, being joined here by one of our local coaches from where I'm at right now, Coach Tierney. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing wonderful. Just trying to dig out of the snow, and hopefully we get to spring and summer real quick.
Yeah, spring sports here in New Jersey typically aren't spring sports. They're winter extended sports.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just got hit with a pretty massive snowstorm, one of the biggest ones we've seen here in New Jersey in a while, and some snow days here, so we've been out sick or out of school, not sick, I shouldn't say, but we've gotten some snow days, which we then now tend to lose our spring break because of, and now they're calling for more snow later on this week, so fantastic. So for those of you with the spring sports, sorry, which is actually kind of why I have Coach Tierney here today, unfortunately. So before we dive into our topic today with Coach Tierney, again, if you're enjoying the show, please hit those like or subscribe buttons. Give me a thumbs up, give me a thumbs down, give me a middle finger. I really don't care. Those comments help regardless. And plus, I do take the feedback. I've got thick skin, so I like hearing the feedback positively and negatively about what I got going on here so I can make the shows a little bit better for all of you. And again, check out our friends at Battlefields to Ballfields. Okay, battlefieldstoballfields.org. If you know anybody who wants to become an official, who is a American veteran, you can lead them to battlefieldstoballfields.org. They can get some scholarships going and get them set up in their officiating careers. And it's not just football, but it's across the board and multi-sports. So, got all that fun stuff in. Coach Tierney and I were talking recently. And the reason I asked Coach to come on today is because we are rolling into the spring season, and here in New Jersey, the spring season brings with it our flag football season. Now, this year in New Jersey, this is going to be our last year where it is considered a club sport, where it is being sanctioned by our state for it being a varsity sport starting in the 26-27 season. But Coach Tierney, how long have you been doing the club portion of the flag football?
So I'm the first and the only coach at Pinelands Regional. We started in the spring of 2021, coming out of COVID. So I guess this is going into my sixth year, if I'm doing my math right. Real excited to get it going. We have 30 teams in a short conference this year. I'm sure we're going to dig into them. But I'm just excited for it. I'm excited for this season, but I'm excited for actually becoming an official sport in the state's eyes, which in my eyes, it's been an official sport since the day we took the field.
And to clarify what we're talking about with it not being a state sanctioned, this is going to be the last year where the ladies that are playing flag football can also be participating in another varsity spring sport at the high school level. So you see some lacrosse players also playing flag football, some softball players also playing flag football, where come next year it's going to be a sanctioned varsity sport. Here in New Jersey, you're only allowed to play one sport per season unless waivers and things like that, which I really don't know the logistics on how that all works. But next year, they're going to be flag football players, not softball players who play flag football. So it's going to be 100% sanctioned with that. Another reason why I asked Coach Tierney to come on is Coach Tierney has also had a really major footprint here in the state, not just in our area, but in the state of New Jersey with flag football. Coach, what are some of the things that you've had going on at the state level with flag football?
So I am the Southern representative for the All-State game. We're going into our third year of the All-State game. It's a full official game up there. They bring the girls up. We're going to be at TCNJ this year. They'll bring the girls in on Friday. We'll practice 3 times. We're also holding a college clinic coming up April 13th to Sunday, so that colleges can get a good look at these girls in person, and just moving the sport forward. Steve Antonucci, who basically started the Shore Conference, has since retired, and he sort of given me the reins. So I've worked with the New York Giants very closely. I've worked with all the teams in the Shore Conference. We're going to host our officials meeting tonight. So it's just been a pleasure to sort of be at the forefront of this and getting it going. And I can never believe I'm going to have 2 meetings with 2 officials. I mean, I can't believe it. They're on the sidelines. I always try to tell you guys what you're missing. You guys don't want to listen to me.
Oh, you do. And we do. We're like that commercial. We've learned how to tune it out like our wives. With that being said, so Coach Tierney, I know, has been very involved, and I actually had the pleasure of walking off the field as he was walking onto the field 2 years ago for the All-State game. I had worked the All-State game up at Keene University with the North versus South on the boys' side, and it was the first year that they had the All-State game for the flag football. I think you played at halftime of that game, if I remember correctly.
So yeah, the first one we played at halftime.
Okay.
The last 2, 3. This will be the third year we're actually playing before the game. I think we're like an hour and a half before the game, in a 45-minute game before the boys' game gets ready and start going. But yeah, very excited about that.
Now, I got to know Coach Tierney not through the flag football game, but Coach Tierney is also the head football coach for the boys' team in the fall. So, Coach, tell me how you got involved with the flag football game, transitioning from the boys' game, not transitioning because you're still involved in the boys' game, but going from the boys' game to the girls' game.
So believe it or not, Coach Sonderman sort of put it out to everybody, because we were the only team in Ocean County that had sort of got into the Giants grant. The Giants had given a $75,000 grant. And he had, I think there was like 9 or 10 people who were interested in getting the job. And I was not the head boys coach at the time. I was the freshman coach. And it just seemed like he said, you're going to have a little bit more time. You don't coach anything in the spring right now. And, I sort of was lucky enough to get the job. And since then, I've been named the boys coach also, and I'm also the girls head basketball coach. So I'm sort of a unicorn. I'm a 3-sport head coach, but I love coaching. I love everything about it, and it's another way just to stay involved in the game in the springtime.
Yeah, I love to see that, how much it's been growing, and just the excitement in my building. I know that it's being talked about a lot. I'm about an hour north from where Coach is, and for us in my school district, which is 6 high schools, it's going to be the first year that it is being offered. Again, trying to get the seeds planted for then next year of it becoming the full-on varsity sport. But it's great to see how much it's grown in the past 4 or 5 years, and the excitement level that we're starting to see with it. Coach, you mentioned and something that completely I didn't realize, you're having kind of like a college day, you said, coming up in April. Is that kind of like a combine type of thing?
It's exactly that. It's a combine for the girls. It's up north. I think it's at Mansfield High School. So there's going to be about 20 to 25 college coaches there. And they're in season, but they're going to try their best to get there, just to give the girls what it's like. Get a little showcase for the girls. Get them on video, get their measurables just like the boys do, and hopefully, I know most of the NJAC schools are going with it now. I know huge news. One of the Power Fours, Nebraska, came out and said they're going to make it a full-fledged scholarship sport. So it's going to be a huge college sport. This thing is off and running, and it's a locomotive, and it's either get on the train or get out of the way. So it's really exciting. I'm excited for the girls, and see how big this sport comes. I think once it gets to Olympic sport in 2028, it's going to even be bigger. But just like I said, just the excitement is there. The girls love playing. I think we had 55 girls at our meeting last week or 2 weeks ago. So just see what happens with it. It's another great way to be a student athlete.
Now, 55 girls, what is the size of your school in general? I know I talk about classifications here in New Jersey. What group would you be classified in for Pinelands on the boys' side?
So we're group 3. We're group 3, through and through. We're dead in the middle of group 3. We're not going to move up. We're not going to move down. We have about 1,000 students. I think of those 1,000 students, I think we have about 550 girls. So, basically, what is that? 10% of the student body is going to come out and try out for the team. We have 45 uniforms. So usually we'll run with about 45 girls on our JV and varsity rosters.
That's awesome. Those are fantastic numbers, and I love hearing those percentages. All right, so let's kind of jump into it here. Just some of the things I'm picking up on what you're mentioning. You're talking about uniforms and stuff like that. What kind of rules are we going to have in place here for uniforms this coming year and moving forward? How is the NFHS dealing with that?
All right, so one thing, last year and this year also, teams only have one set of uniforms. So we've sort of given them the leeway until wait to 2027 to have everything officially up and going, but we gave them a year and a half. Girls will have a home set, we'll have an away set just like any other sport. A big change is the flags will go from having 2 flags on a girl to having 3 flags. So it'll be 2 on the side, there'll be 1 in the back. This year, we're still going to go with the 2 flags, I believe. We're voting on that right now because some teams don't want to buy the 3 flags and have to, and then next year go back to the 3 flags. So we're still going to vote on that tonight. That's the only vote we have. But those are the 2, major rule changes as far as uniforms go. Another major change is that you can blitz as many people as you want from 1 yard away. So in the past, the short conference when we first started out was more like a 7-on-7 type of tournament, 40 yards and in. The blitzer had to come from 7 yards. Once the blitzer came, the quarterback could run. Last year, we still had the blitzer, but now with the blitzer being at 1 yard, the center and anybody else can actually block. I think the best way to say how they can block is they have to block with their hands behind their back. It's much like mirror dodge, for those of you guys who are familiar with that back in the old, pass rush, pass pro section of two-a-days, a little mirror dodge. And anything behind the line of scrimmage, your girls can move their feet. Once they're in front of the line of scrimmage, the girls cannot move their feet. It's more like a basketball screen. But those are 2 major rule changes. We've never really had blocking before.
That's interesting because I was actually watching a YouTube clip of a guy kind of going over the rules, and the way that I was picking it up is that the blocking, screen type blocking like you're talking about, but they can move their feet downfield. It's just that they can't initiate contact. Is that still in play?
So the way I'm reading the rules, and I could be wrong, and that's why we're having a rules interpretation meeting tonight, is that once you're downfield, you have to you can run, but you have to freeze your body. So it's like I said, it's like more like a basketball type of screen where behind the line of scrimmage, you can, we're gonna be teaching some offensive line stuff. I'm really excited about that, being a former offensive lineman. But it's the game's gonna completely change again. So I'm interested to see how all the short conference teams do with it because it's the 3rd year in a row where we're changing the rules. But hopefully it works out. It benefits us. I'm gonna be a little bit biased and say I love the first rules because it was explosion. It was exploding. There was a lot of scoring going on. With these rules, the scoring seems to be a little bit less. But again, when you have certain girls that can just move and get after it, we still scored. I think we scored in the 30s last year, so I was pretty happy with that. Our score didn't come too far down.
So I do have a copy of the rule book pulled up alongside. So if you see me glancing back and forth, I'm not checking emails or watching other stuff. So Section 2, Rule 3, blocking. Article 2, screen blocking is taking position to obstruct the path of an opponent without contacting the opponent with any part of the blocker's body. So it doesn't mention about the feet moving or anything like that. And again, I'm only on Rule 2 here, so I'm on page 23 of 80. So I'm still going through it myself and learning all the nuances because you're talking about the rules changing in the past 3 years, 3 different times. This is the first time we now have an NFHS book that's come out, and I've got my hard copy of the boys' book here, but you can get your hard copy now of the girls' book, or not the girls' book, but the flag football version of it now for the 25-26 and 26-27 season. So they are official, and that's where New Jersey is transitioning to go to, is following a national guideline and not just, like you said, it was kind of it was kind of mixed pieces, because when I talked to people a few years back, they're like, oh, you're playing on a 40-yard field, not an 80-yard field. Like, so across the country, it was completely different all the way through. So now they're looking to try to get everything on board.
And then you look at the NFL flag, which is completely different, especially as far as the distance and the markers go. And a lot of them play 5-on-5. We play 7-on-7.
Mm-hmm.
But those rules are 180 degrees the other way from our rules. So we're just trying to get everything together and make sure that this year everything runs right. Maybe that's why the state was afraid to go to a true state champion this year, because we wanted to make sure we had a pilot year with the rules. But I think once everybody understands rules, the game's just going to be just as fantastic as it has been the entire time.
Now, one of the first rules that did get my attention, and I know they've already kind of modified it, is the field itself. Mm-hmm. In the rule book, they have 3 different fields.
Yes.
What field are we going to be using here in New Jersey? Are we going goal line to 40 or? So
we're going basically look at it this way. We're going 10-yard line and 10-yard line. We're going to go 80-yard field. And then basically the way the game starts out is you start with the ball on the 14-yard line. If you get to the 20-yard line, you get a new set of downs. But so you could be 1st and 20, or you could be 1st and 1. It's not like it's not the traditional boys game where you start at, if you get 40 yards, you're on 1st and 10. So those 20-yard dares, that's basically where you want to get to. So you start out with the ball on the 14, 6 yards, you have 3 downs to get 6 yards, and you go to the 40. Again, you have 3 downs to get that 20 yards, whether it's 20 yards or 1 yard. Then you go to the opposite 40, then the opposite 20 in the end zone. Now, you get 3 downs, and then on 4th down, you have to decide. You can either, go for it, where if you don't get it, the team will get the ball wherever you wind up, or whether it's an incomplete pass or, you don't get to it, you get stopped at 1 yard short, the team will get the ball there. Or you can punt. Punting, again, is much different. There's no punt rush. The ball can only be returned if it's caught up in the air. If it bounces, it's dead where the ball bounces. So the game is a little bit different. The other thing that has really changed the game, especially in my eyes, is going from a 53-yard width field to a 40-yard width field.
Yeah.
We were playing 40 by 53, and I think it really, teams with speed, it benefited big time. They'd run some jet sweeps, and basically you just couldn't. It was pretty much easier to outflank teams. We also were going the typical boys rules on the hash. Now everything is snapped from the middle of the field, so you only have 20 yards either way from where the ball's going. So it does take jet sweep out a little bit. It condenses. Who would have known that 13 yards can condense the field that much? But it really does condense the field. So teams who are not as fast sometimes can stay in games because teams are not able to use jet sweep.
And so I pulled up the NFHS rule book, and like I said, this is the diagram that New Jersey is going to be going with here. Talked about starting possession on the 14-yard line, and then you got the yard markers at the 20, the 40, the opposite 40, the 20, and then your goal line. And then you got your 10-yard end zone, so that's kind of standard. But yeah, in the rule book itself, there's, a 40 that kind of splits the field. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Is that the one we're going with?
That's when we're going to go to that one there.
I digress. So that's the one there.
Yes.
I'm already screwing myself up. No, that's on me. So then you got one that's going a little bit further, and then one that's, you got even wider and... But yeah, all right. So the top one, diagram A, back at it. Still starting at the 14, 20, 40, 20 goal line, and then we're good from there.
It's funny because at the bottom of that page it says page 5 of 80.
Yeah.
When Coach Antonucci started this, and I was on his rules committee, we had all of our rules on one page. So,
and the first game that I officiated, I had that rules in my back pocket.
I am really hoping that this whole 80-page book is not going to overcomplicate the game. That's the last thing we really want to see, is the game to be overcomplicated, because I think it's so good the way it is right now. But again, we can't just go with the short conference rules we want to, so we have to go these NHFS rules. Last year I had Coach Petrucci from Raritan, texting me. He's going, "Can we go back to 53?" I'm like, "No, we can't just switch the games. Like we can't just switch it week in, week out. This is where it's going forward, and it is what it is. So we'll see what happens with these."
Well, on the positive with the pages here, and I'm scrolling through it again. Rules 1 and Rules 2 are going to take up about. Let me give you an exact number while I got it pulled up here. I'm at page 29 of page 80 going on to Rules 2. Now, Rules 2 for us officials is the definitions of the game. That is where we need to go over to Coach and say, "Coach, this is what boom, boom, boom," and give you our referee speak so that we can define it right here. And then we could say, "All right, Coach, your girl dropped the ball," or whatever it may be. So we could talk in coach language too. But a lot of the rules that are in that rule book are designed for us to be able to kind of process because as my buddy Daniel like to always say, he wants to weaponize the rules, but you guys want to learn the rules inside and out so that you can kind of tweak those rules to benefit your playing style for the teams. And
that's 100% right. And I think last year teams were doing that because you had to blitz right over the center. So you had like basically 1 yard on each side of the center, and then people were like bringing girls from all over the place. It's like, what do you guys like? Read the rule books because it's affecting the way the game's played if you're not running the stuff the right way. Luckily, though, most of the coaches jumped on board right away after 1 or 2 emails. But obviously, everybody, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. Isn't that the old Bobby Heenan WWE slogan? So I guess
NASCAR, if you're not rubbing, you're not racing.
So coaches are going to try and manipulate the rules the best they can, and obviously that's why we have you guys there to make sure that everything goes right. So hopefully, though, coaches understand that this is a high school sport, and we're not trying to. While we are trying to win, we're trying to give the girls an opportunity to really showcase their talents, and again, it's another way for them to be a student athlete.
All right, so let's now start talking about some of the nuances of it, the truer nuances of it. So, beginning of a series is automatically going to start at the 14-yard line after a score.
After a score, yes.
Because you can punt the ball, like we were just talking about. Are there talks of making a kickoff or a punt return where the ball is caught and you can return it, or playing the ball off the ground for punt?
So right now, the punt return is if you catch the ball in the air, you can go.
Yep.
The only thing is you can't block. So basically, it's like having one girl on 7. But there are talks. There are talks also about a clean catch. So if it bounces once and catching the ball, that is in the works of being talked about. And we were trying to figure out what to do with the kickoff. Do we have a kickoff return? That is still up in the air right now. We have not heard back from the state or the NHFS anything on the kickoff or kickoff return, and whether or not we want to put in a true extra point. I mean, right now, you score a touchdown, you have 3 options. You can go for it from the 5 for 1 point, you can go from the 10 for 2 points, or you can go from the 20 for 3 points. So we're also in the works of talking about, do we want to try and work on the extra point game where, snapper, holder, kick, ball goes up and in, you get maybe 3 points if you kick it in from the 10-yard line. There is talks about that, and also field goals. So you bring that in. Now you're bringing field goals in.
I got a feeling we're not going to get kickoffs because, in my opinion, they're trying to do away with kickoffs at all levels these days. So I don't know that they're going to bring something new in if they don't have to. That's just me speaking. I have no basis for that comment whatsoever. I'm just giving an opinion.
I agree with you 100%, but again, who knows? It's in the hands of people who are much higher up and much more compensated than I am. Absolutely.
Same. So now, starting at the 14, this year we are implementing and we are having not a designated chain per se, but we are going to have that first down marker on the sideline so that we know and that the kids know, okay, it's 1st and 6 to start the series after a score, but then it can be 1st and 18 if you get a first down and you're starting at the plus 20 or at the 22-yard line. You still only need to get to the 40, so you need only 18 yards from that spot.
So right now it's a suggestion that teams have that person there, that down marker, I guess you would say. It's not guaranteed that it will be there until 2027. Again, we're trying to figure in all the costs and things like that. So, I mean, luckily enough for us, I think we have like 3 or 4 guys who volunteer as as managers, so I'll have one of them hold it. Usually they're football players of mine, so I'll just have one of them hold it. They know what's going on. But it's not every school will have that down marker. But I will say one thing. It does help a lot because you sort of forget in your head as a coach, I'm the offensive coordinator. I'm like, what down is a second? And, people think like I'm trying to get one over them, but I just forget. You got way too much going on.
Oh, there's times that we forget too as officials. That's why we got all the rubber bands and the stretchy things on our wrist and our fingers, because sometimes the down marker person behind us, well, they're asleep too, or they're sitting there on their phone, especially at the youth levels.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we got our first downs. We got our shortened field. We've got our condensed field. What other field nuances are going to be a little different from the boys' game to the girls' game, or have we hit them all pretty much?
I think we pretty much hit them all. That's pretty much it. I mean, like I said, the width of 40 yards is much different. The 80 yards, it's 80 by 40. The end zones are still 10 yards deep. And I'll be honest with you, like as much as I hate the grass field, and we have a grass field, and we're lucky enough that we can actually put the markers right where they need to be. We have a guy, Bob, who does our fields, and we have a robot, and he sets it to the football field and the flag football field, and the flag football field is done in about an hour and a half. But it's sometimes tough to watch on turf and understanding, like, are they going numbers to are they going bottom of numbers to bottom numbers, sidelines to hash. So sometimes the turf game, even though it's a little bit faster, it's a little bit harder to see everything. And, Randy, who's a real good friend of mine from Rumson Fairhaven, he's like, John, these girls just want to get to the paint. They want to score touchdowns. Can we make it? I was like, you can set your field up however you want, but it's only 80 yards.
Yeah.
So I understand they want to see that touchdown, that Instagram or that tic-tac crap. Them scoring a touchdown in the paint, but for right now we're still not painted. I mean, maybe going forward, teams will have turf football fields, flag football fields. Who knows?
Well, when you're talking about Rumson, I wouldn't be surprised at anything. So,
but they're good people up there. They're
great people, and the athletic director is a good friend of mine myself. So they're really good people. But they got some financial advantages with some things, which I say out of pure jealousy.
If they want to be the first one to put a turf football field in, and Beth gets that pass, I'm good with it. We'll host all our championships there.
So one other thing, just to bring up field-wise, and I was going through the rules again. It does say that teams are allowed to be on the same sidelines in certain instances if the field doesn't mitigate to that. Hopefully we don't have to deal with something like that, but what are the restraining lines? How far can you go, Coach? Are you going 80 yards?
So it's actually much different, and this year it comes back to, because last year an offensive coach was allowed in the field. So it will be different now. The box is 20 to 20, so we can't go inside the 20-yard line. I know the boys' game it's 25 to 25. Mm-hmm. Most cases, some guys get down to the 7 or 10-yard line. I'm not going to bring that one up, but for the most part, it's just the 20-yard line you're allowed to. Which last year during the championship game actually had to be enforced because there was too many people on the sidelines and one team was down a little bit further where they're away from where they should have been. So the referees were politely told that they can't be down there.
Okay. All right, so let's get into the gameplay. So start at the 14-yard line. We're going to have a traditional snap. So the snap can be either between the legs or a side snap, but it still has to be a traditional snap back to the quarterback. It has to be a quote-unquote shotgun snap, correct? Can't be hand-to-hand?
No, but you can move the girl up. I've seen teams move the girl up to like 1 yard away.
Okay, I thought they were saying 2 yards away, but I could be wrong in that.
If that's in the rules, that could be something different than was short conference rules last year. But yeah, that's what it is. It's a shotgun snap. Now with the blocking in the center, it would benefit you to go between the legs and a true shotgun snap. But you can go to the side. But this girl's allowed to block now. In the past, she really wasn't allowed to do much. Some teams would actually, when we started doing it, we stole from Middletown North. On the snap of the ball last year, we would bring the girl back so we could sort of throw it back to her if we wanted to. But now the center is actually allowed downfield. So
I was going to say center is eligible, so there's no number rules that we have to worry about in this scenario. Yeah, everybody's eligible receivers.
Everybody's eligible. From what I've been watching with the new games and the clinics I do, it seems like the running back stays in a lot to block. So
Okay.
you're basically taking her off there, but then you have the ability to run the screen to the center. That's one game play. You got 4 wide receivers, you got a center, you got a running back. You could go empty. You could have 5 wide receivers and a quarterback back there. And the quarterback can run whenever she wants to. She doesn't have to wait for anything. She can take the ball and go. So again, any coach out there who's looking for stuff, the Glazier Clinic online has some fabulous flag football stuff. Um, so, but
Interesting. That's good stuff. And you brought up my next question. Quarterback doesn't have to hand the ball off. Quarterback can automatically run if they choose to. So you get that short yardage situation. They might just try to get that, well, not the actual tush push because we can't have any pushing or blocking in that scenario, but it doesn't have to be a handoff now for them to run.
Yeah, it can be anything they want. And here's where the game is much different than the boys' game. Obviously, you get your running backs coached in the boys' game. They're tuck the ball up and in, stop carrying it like a loaf of bread. Well, it actually benefits you in the girls' game to carry it like this. And every time you're about to get pulled, you put the ball out because it can't be knocked away. So that's actually a major, major difference. Where I had to get used to when I first because I remember our first clinic we ran with the New York Giants. Like one of the things was ball carrying and keeping the ball up here and high and tight. Mm-hmm. That's the last thing you want to do. You want to be all over the place with the ball. Really using your hips, and I would love to demonstrate for you, but I got a little toe issue. I can't demonstrate.
We're good, Coach. Thank you. Don't need to elaborate.
But so that's a major change between the game of football and the game of flag football is just how you carry the football.
Well, and like you were saying, all fumbles are dead balls. So if the ball hits the ground,
it doesn't matter.
How much option you running?
We run enough. We run some speed with some option in there. It's now one of the changes from our original rules was you couldn't pitch the ball downfield. The pitch had to happen beforehand, before you cross line of scrimmage. Now you can pitch wherever you want. So
yep, a backward pass from anywhere on the field, just like any other game of football. So, but the benefit is that if it's an incomplete backward pass, you're getting the ball where it hit the ground.
I'm gonna steal Corey's Bronco play. We'll probably run that a couple times.
Oh, there you go.
Old Boise State hook and ladder.
Nice, fun stuff. So I'm trying to think. You mentioned 7-on-7 rules. Now I officiate 7-on-7 tournaments and things like that, and with the 7-on-7, I'm back there counting 1,001, 1,002. Getting to a 3 count or 4 count, depending upon who's running the tournament. We don't have that anymore for the flag game, correct?
Nope, because you can rush. So now it's not like the girl has to sit back there for 6 seconds or 7 seconds as a defense. Just very similar to the game of boys football. Are you going to bring pressure? Or are you going to sit back and cover? You're going to sit back and cover. Fine. My girl's got 10 seconds to sit back there and find somebody. I'm sure there's benefits of doing both. We are blessed with probably one of the best rushers in the state of New Jersey. She had 29 sacks last year. Ooh. So I'm not going to sit back and have her, not rush the quarterback. The first time there was the All-State game, she was a South MVP. She had 5 sacks, and last year I thought she probably could have got it again. She had 4 sacks last year. So we're not going to sit back and let teams, pick us apart. We're going to bring the pressure. So.
All right. So we got our regular passing, like we were talking about. Running plays can happen now. Mm-hmm. What are things that defenses are going to have to start doing? There's no press coverages or things like that. It's more being an athlete.
Yeah, and rule of thumb is obviously you can't press coverage, you can't get up and jam somebody. But you can manipulate the game by making sure you're pushing them out of bounds. You're funneling them. I'll use the word funnel. Mm-hmm. You're funneling them out of bounds. You're funneling them to where you want to go. So really, most of the time, defense will be lined up, probably a hair shade inside to make the girl go outside, so there's not as much coverage. Now you can bring the second blitzer. You can bring a third blitzer if you want. So the defensive game. A lot of man-to-man coverage. A lot of teams run man-to-man coverage, and just say, okay, we're gonna bring a blitzer or 2, and we're gonna get to you before your girls get open.
So you're gonna have a lot of rub routes, a lot of shallow crosses, huh?
A lot of shallow crosses. A lot of A lot of quick out sprint game. Where the quarterback has that read, that one read and go, or two reads and go, and just try to pick up what they can. Especially, when you get to that 1st and 6, you just want to get that first down. It's a lot of teams will go to the sprint game at that point.
There you go. Now, just mentioned before, no fumbles. What about interceptions? Are interceptions live balls? Can they be returned?
Interceptions are live balls. They can be returned for touchdowns. Last year, our opening game, my defensive coordinator, who's also my defensive coordinator in the boys, said, I don't understand why we have it was the official said, I don't understand why we can return touchdowns on interceptions. Nobody's ever going to intercept the ball, and we had 4. We had 4 pick sixes that game. So it was he looked at me, he's like, yeah, I guess you guys can catch the ball and return it for touchdowns. So, and 2 by 1 girl who was in her first game for us and just played the ball right and caught it, and just now it becomes, again, no blocking, but you can return it. It's just like punt return. So
yeah, that's a kind of silly statement in my opinion.
It is what it is. I don't think until people actually watch these girls play, they're like, oh, it's girls football. No, go watch them play. It is a completely different animal, and some of these girls are more athletic than anybody I've coached on the boys level. We just had a girl yesterday, Bree McCory, who's coming back from an ACL. She didn't play last year for us, but she was just down at Disney World with the Staten Island Giants and won the national championship. So, you get girls like that out there. I mean, these girls can flat out play. It's fun to watch.
And you're talking to a father whose daughter is a varsity athlete for lacrosse and field hockey as a sophomore, and I've seen their high-level games and the championship games and stuff like that she's played in. I don't doubt anybody. It's athletic. It's intense. It's not powder puff. This is football.
And I'll be honest with you, that's the one thing that bugs me a little bit is like people like, oh, Coach Tierney's the flag coach. Oh, we have powder puff. I'm like, not the same.
Nope.
You guys put it. Nothing ever goes bad playing football, but playing a powder puff game and getting ready for it in 3 days, and the flag football and what we've been doing and what our coaching staff is doing, and we clinic just like we clinic for football. Last week I saw you, had the pleasure of seeing you down in Atlantic City at the clinic. Now we're clinicking online. We're getting ready for the football season. How can we put our girls in the best spot to be, the most successful athletes they can be out there? So it's much different than powder puff. So.
Yeah, that's kind of insulting. All right, so the last thing to kind of dive into here, and where it's near and dear to my heart, the rules, the penalties, the conduct, the violations, things like that. So one of the first and most obvious ones to me is flag guarding. Flag guarding. Huge. It is probably one of the easiest ones, in my opinion, to call, but it's a very difficult thing for some of the athletes not to do because it's just somebody's reaching for you, they're smacking a hand away.
Yeah.
So how is as a coach, how are you teaching that to prevent the flag guarding?
So one of the things we do, like we do a hip drill every single day. We do a drill where the girls are moving their hips. But again, it's how you hold the football. So we're basically telling our girls to hold the ball up here because then you don't have the likelihood to put your hand there to flag guard. And again, like I said, it's a big hip thing. It's a big dip thing. The one girl a couple years ago who was from Irvington, she was a quarterback. She's I believe she's on a national team now. She could bend her knees and get the flags low as the girls came into her, and it was absolutely perfect. And that's what you try to work on. You try and work on, moving your hips as the girls get to you, keeping the football up here. So therefore, that you're not going for the flag guard because some people will swat away. And again, it comes to almost like holding. You could call holding on every single play. Some of these teams who are not as well versed in playing the game, if I say that politically correct, they're flag guarding almost every play. Mm-hmm. And of course, I'm going to say, Mr. Official, sir, and then finally, like when they score a touch, I'm like, what the frick? Like, she's flag guarding every play.
Well, so one thing I think you should feel better about it is we've been told already in the past couple of years, and like I said, I didn't do any of the games last year, but 2 years ago I did it, and I had that piece of paper in my back pocket. We were kind of blasé with the rules. We kind of let things go where we talked about it. Well, now that it's transitioning to becoming a full-time varsity sport, now everything should be getting called. So your false starts, it's no longer to be like, oh, give her a break. No, it's got to be flagged and things like that. And it should be treated as a varsity sport, and hopefully it should be officiated as a varsity sport in that aspect. So that's something that we're working on training ourselves to do too.
And I think 95% of the people who come and officiate the games, they have that mindset in there. It's a real game. So I think at first some of them almost saw it like as a night out with their guys, and they're getting paid. And now they're seeing like how much work the girls put into it, how much work the coaches put into it, how much work the school puts into it. And they get there like, oh, we're going to be a lot more serious. And, again, it's the first couple of years I get it like, oh, this is a cute little sport going on, which we didn't take it that way. But now that it's moving up, I think they'll take it much more serious. But with that being said, like again, you could call holding in a high school football game almost on every play. Is it at the point of attack? Did it have any effect on the football play? What's going? As long as the rules are called that way, and consistently, we're fine with it as coaches. We know we're not perfect. I mean, I'm sort of close. But, we know you guys are going to miss one or two things, a game, and it happens, and I think as I've gotten older, I think I've hopefully matured a little bit that I know that's going to happen. And, oh, well, like when I'm a perfect coach, I can yell at an official for being an imperfect official.
I'm still waiting for that day that I say, Coach, why the hell did you run power on that one? I want to go over and what that was a dumb call, Coach.
I did have an official say that to me once.
Did you?
So basically what happened, and he wound up being wrong, but we were playing Barnegat, who is our rival, and the game was 21-13 with 4 seconds left. We're on our own 20-yard line, it's fourth down. What do you do there?
Wait a minute. Say this scenario again. Your own 20-yard line.
Our own 20-yard line with 4 seconds left.
Oh, well, let's see. If you drop back and just throw the ball up in the air, you're going to burn off 4 seconds on that one, but you got to make sure there's receivers remotely in the area so you don't get intentional grounding. I learned that one way back when, but I'm not punting.
No, me neither. So I'm going to take the ball. I'm going to tell every one of my players to hold, and I'm going to have the quarterback take it and run out of the back of the end zone. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Score becomes 21-15.
2 points.
Game's over, right?
Untimed down.
No, game's over. We don't have to kick off.
Yeah, I know. I was trying to catch you.
Okay. Guess what they made us do?
Kick the ball?
Kick the ball. You know what the official on the sideline said? That's the worst call I've ever seen. You know how I know it wasn't the worst call I've ever had? Because I did the same thing the week before.
Did you onside kick it?
We were on our 20-yard line. I was just just squib it. And then, of course, luckily we made the tackle, and the official emailed me the next day saying, I'm sorry, we were wrong. But don't tell me it's the worst call you've ever seen when you were wrong. So, but yeah, we're probably the only team in the history of football to win 2 consecutive games running out of the back of the end zone.
You don't see it often anymore. It should be done a little bit more often.
My first year coaching at Pinelands as a head football coach, we won 2 games running out of the back of the end zone back-to-back weeks.
All right. So let's digress. Let's go back here to some rules.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. And that's what this show does. So all good. How many 15-yard penalties are there in flag?
I'll be honest with you, I don't even know. I think there's just unsportsmanlike conduct.
That's what I'm kind of looking through. I think that's all it is really, is unsportsmanlike conduct or any type of safety violation type of scenario. Yeah. So if you clothesline a girl instead of going for a flag, you're going to get a 15-yarder.
Yeah, but I think they try to keep most of it to 5 and 10. Like obviously a false start's 5 yards. There really should never be a holding call, but if there is, I think that goes to the 10-yard penalty.
That actually does bring me back to one question about holding, defensive holding. And defensive holding, not only just on a pass play, but defensive holding where they're attempting to grab the flag, but they're holding garment in order to reach the flag. How is that being enforced? Is that going to be a 10-yard penalty?
I forget the actual name of the rule. It is something to do with constricting the runner.
Okay.
But
That's rule 9.
Yeah, I think that's a 10-yard penalty.
And how about jumping? Is that something that's being called these days again? Because I know it was originally, and then they were going back and forth with it.
Yes, it is. I don't believe you can leave your feet to extend the football.
Okay.
It will go back to where your feet were.
So no jumping, but you can hip. I shouldn't say hip drop because that's got a negative connotation on the boys' side. But you can
Yeah.
lower your level with your hips in order to kind of
Yes.
duck under people.
Yep.
So you're going to see a lot more finesse moves, a lot more spin moves, a lot more L1, R1, and some B buttons to get those spin moves going, as opposed to the truck stick.
And the way these kids move their it's unbelievable. Like the good ones, wow. Like it's a different level.
Anything else that I'm missing on here? Anything else that the layperson might not realize with the game of flag that you could possibly impart with them?
No, I think we hit most of it. Obviously, my thing is go to a game, watch it. It is a lot of fun. Sit next to somebody who's been there so they can sort of explain what's going on to you, the rules wise.
Yep.
But you're gonna have a great time watching the game.
And again, I'm scrolling through the rule book here. I've gotten to page 63, and then it starts getting into the advertisement. So you'll be a little bit better looking at the rule
So I
book.
think one of the big things we're going to try to enforce this year, as you said, calling it more like a varsity sport, is some teams are taking like a minute and a half in a huddle. Now,
Yeah.
with not having a coach there, it should be a lot faster. I already know like we're going to go no huddle, we're going to hurry up, we're going to go wristbands. We'll have a couple, NASCAR calls in. But they were really trying to move the game along because there's sometimes like if a team is taking it, eat up the whole clock just by sitting in the huddle.
And that was the time with you mentioned it, having the coaches in the backfield with their play
Yeah.
cards and flipping through their 3-ring binder to then hold up what the play is and say, no, Joe, you're on this side, you're over here.
Yeah.
And so we're going to try to make it more streamlined. Spot the ball, blow the whistle, ready for play clock, all those fun things. So try to get the game going. And again, going back to my old adage that I want to spot the ball and run the clock and just make sure that everything is running smoothly from that point. But yeah, that play clock, again, you see it at the sub-varsity games, you see it in the scrimmages and things like that where people are really, really eating up the clock. That's kind of teachable games, but we're going to treat this as a varsity game now. So the varsity games got to be treated like a varsity game, got to be officiated and coached by like a varsity. You are going to have some JV games, though. Am I correct in saying
Oh, we
that?
do. We have 6 scheduled. Plus, I try and host what we call a JV jamboree, where I bring teams down. I'll bring like three or four teams down, and then we'll just go just like a quad scrimmage. We'll go 40 yards in, but it's the same rules. But just to get the girls some more experience, especially the younger girls. So right now, I would say half the teams have JV teams.
Okay.
So it benefits you going forward, just like any other sport. Just like girls basketball. Unfortunately, this year we didn't have enough girls to have a varsity and JV. But I reached out to the other teams. I said, let's just play a half a JV. Get these girls on the floor. We're not canceling on your girls, and we'll just play one half of JV. This is why I can sort of go with the rules of the state that says they're only allowed to play 5 quarters, but also get the younger girls some work.
Yeah.
And that's another thing too. Is this year the biggest difference is we're not going to have 2 halves. We are going to have 4 quarters. So instead of being one 24-minute half, it's 2 12-minute quarters, and then we'll change sides, and it'll be a 1-minute delay, 1-minute timeout in between.
How is the clock going on that? Is it going to be running, or is it going to be stop on each incomplete, like normal? Like I shouldn't say normal rules, but like the boys' game.
So it's running clock up until the last 2 minutes of the game. The clock stops after scores. It stops on injuries. But it is a little bit faster in the boys' game because an incomplete pass in the, not the last 2 minutes is running clock.
Okay. Good to know. Well, Coach, I appreciate you taking the time out of your snow day today, and I look forward to being back on later on tonight.
I've watched a bunch of these, and this is just awesome. It's really digs into the rules of football and the rules of now flag football.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people don't know what they're talking about, or why the official's making that call, or why is he looking where he is. And I think this is just another This is just another platform to make sure people know about the game of football.
That's all I'm trying to do. Just keep growing the sport any way possible, any means possible.
But thank you very much.
Appreciate it, Coach, and good luck this season, and maybe see you down the road.
Hopefully.
All right.